Hey everybody, Brett from AstartesGaming here, back with another Let's Mod tutorial for Mount & Blade Warband. So, it's been a little while since our last update. I've been really busy, but I've tried to get some stuff done off camera between this video and the last one. So, I'll show you guys what I've done so far once we get in game. But today I wanted to go through troop editing and troop trees. Since that seemed to be okay with you guys on the last video. So we're going to be working almost exclusively, well actually I think just in wargs for this. So I've already got it configured to load my custom mod that we've been working on. And so we're going to jump into the troop editor. And that's going to open up this screen here. And if you're not familiar with this screen, it can be a little bit daunting at first. So the first thing you want to do is just kind of familiarize yourself with everything going on here. So on the left you have all the different troops that are present in the game. It starts out with like generic characters such as like the sort of random player character here. I wouldn't mess with this one at all. Like, do not tweak it because you can cause a lot of problems. But everything else is pretty much fair game. So in here, for example, you have like some of the arena trainer people. They're just nameless fighters and whatnot. And then we get into like the random farmers, townsmen, watchmen, caravan guards, and so on. Hired blades and various mercenaries. And this is the end of the mercenaries. So it's important to note that if they're not within like this range right here, like 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, they will not show up in taverns for you to hire as mercenaries. So if you want to, say, add a hireable troop that will, show up and you can talk to them in taverns and add them to your party after you throw them a little bit of gold, what you'll want to do, and because we are working on like a sub mod, not an actual mod here where we were using the scripting system, you'd probably want to change one of these rather than add a new unit, because if you tried to like shoehorn a new unit in here as like the new 34 and push this down, you're gonna mess up all the units thereon after, because scripts are already associated with some of these units. For example, like all of the kings and knights and stuff, all the various lords, their troop number here is associated with scripts. And so if you were to bump everybody down one, all of a sudden King Harlos here would be, king of Vagirs or something, and Yargalek would be king of the Kurgite, and so on. It would screw everything past it up. So what you can do if you want to add more mercenaries is, I would say, maybe take the mercenaries, or take the hired blade, for example. Add a new unit to the end of your list, and you can do that just by hitting, well, first of all, selecting hired blade and hit add. If you do that, it'll use the hired blade as a template. It'll remove all the names, but it'll keep all the other stuff, and make it so that the mercenary swordsman upgrades to the hired blade, but make sure it's the new one, which will be whatever number is down here. So it would be like 986 rather than 30. And so you won't be able to recruit hired blades directly, but you'll still be able to recruit mercenary swordsmen and level them up into hired blades. And then instead you can turn the hired blade into something else that you can recruit. So like, say, mercenary archers or something, since we only have swords, crossbows, and cavalry. So that's one thing that you can do. Now we get into the actual faction troops, so Swadian recruits, militia, footmen, and so on. That's what we're going to be playing with today, because we're going to convert these over to some more modern counterparts and give them our new equipment, and then we'll jump into game and check them out real quick. So I'm okay with Swadian recruit as our initial troop, but obviously beyond that, a lot of these names are probably going to need to change. I might sort of mess around with the trees as well. Militia, let's go with like irregulars or something. I guess it shouldn't be plural. This one should be plural. But that's like a more period appropriate name, I think. And then rather than footmen, we're going to call these guys riflemen. And again, copying, pasting whenever we can to avoid stupid mistakes. And you can see here that they already have upgrade paths. Now, I guess I should explain the layout of this a little bit better before we move forward. So the troop ID is what this is going to reference, and what a lot of the scripts might reference. So I wouldn't mess with these. If you're adding new troops, feel free to call it whatever you want. But if you're tweaking existing ones, I wouldn't mess with this. But feel free to mess with these. These are just what the actual game will show you they're called. So this is the singular version, obviously. This is what's going to show up in the right column when you're playing the game. And then anytime you recruit some, like say if you recruit 5 of them, you'll get that little notification that says like you've added 5 Swadian recruits to your party, and it'll show the plural. Upgrade path is going to be the units that this can upgrade to once they've hit the requisite number of XP. You can have up to 2 upgrade paths for it, so you can have one that goes to Swadian militia, and then if you wanted, you could go right to, anything you want really. But you could jump straight to cavalry or something from here, whatever you want to do. Then these are the stats, which you should be fairly familiar with. They work just like the player stats do. The level is going to be important here because that dictates when they are able to upgrade to the next unit. So for example, this one is level 4, this one is level 9. And then we go from 9 to 14, 14 to 20. So the amount of time it takes from one unit to level to the next is the amount of XP it needs to earn to go from level 4 to 9 or 9 to 14 or whatever. And that XP is the same XP requirement for the player. So that should give you some idea of like how long they're going to stay recruits before they become irregulars or whatever. And then they've got a bunch of random skills here. I don't know why a recruit would have leadership or trade skill. I'm going to get rid of that. I do, however, like troops to have a little bit of prisoner management, because that is, I believe, by default, it's a party skill. Some mods, I think, turn it into a leader skill. But if it is a party skill, having troops with prisoner management is nice, because then you don't need to really spec anybody into it. And you would think if you had an army of 100 people, that somebody in that army would be capable of watching prisoners, or even just the basic grunts. So I don't mind giving them a little bit of prisoner management. I don't think I will give them much else, though. These guys are supposed to be sort of like the bottom of the barrel, just coming in, not really knowing how to fire a rifle or anything yet. And then our regulars, same thing. They don't need inventory management. They don't need leadership. They don't need trade skill. And then flags. This is where you're going to dictate a lot of things, actually. So none of these boxes should be checked for your basic units. If they are NPCs, companion characters and whatnot, they would be heroes. If they are cavalry of any sort, they should be checked as mounted. I don't really use any of the other ones ever. If you're getting like really in depth and you're going to add like merchant stuff to the game, obviously you want to use these, but that goes kind of beyond the scope of what we're doing today. Maybe the scope of this mod. I don't know that I'll be messing with the rest of those too much. Guarantee works sort of as you would expect. So if these boxes are checked, the troop that you're checking them for will always spawn with boots, shield, and armor. So if you were to give them a helmet, for example, they may or may not spawn with a helmet. It is random. So it's not to say that if you give them a helmet over here and then leave this unchecked, they won't have a helmet, but they might not have one if there's a helmet over here. Now, if there's no helmet over here and you don't check this, then they won't spawn with a helmet. If there's no helmet over here and you do check this, they won't spawn with a helmet. But in this case, we're going to check everything except for the horse, because we're going to give them everything and we want them to spawn with it. And yeah, so we're going to have to do that for all of our troops, actually. Actually, I don't know about the recruits, but we'll see. They might not be as well equipped, but for now I'm going to do all of them. Okay, riflemen. We're going to need to change their stats around a bit too, because they're going to need to be a lot more proficient with crossbows. Let's see. So they start at all 60, all 75. Let's go maybe just a flat 90 and everything. That might be easier than trying to like specialize them in something. Again, our rifles are actually crossbows, so firearm skill doesn't need to be changed here. We can just, give them crossbow skill instead. Now, they don't need power strike. Athletics is fine, riding is fine. They're not going to need shields. Not going to need that. Not going to need any of this. And one thing I like to do is keep the leveling up consistent. So you can see that we went from Iron Flesh 0, 0 to 2. I'm actually going to give these guys Iron Flesh 1 and Athletics 1. That way the scaling is more consistent. So these guys start at basically 0 and everything. The Irregulars, 1 in a couple things. Riflemen are going to have 2 in a couple things, and so on. So let's see, Infantry. Now, this is actually where they split off into Cavalry. So I guess that's fine. The Infantry, I'm going to do like Dragoon. No, not Dragoons, Grenadiers. I guess that should be singular. And we'll make that one plural. Let's see. We did 90 last time, so I might do like a flat 105 for this. But I do want them, because they're Grenadiers, I want them to be a little bit more capable in melee combat. Because historically the Grenadiers were like the biggest, toughest infantrymen that sort of got, not necessarily always got charge duty, but they were definitely used, I don't know if more aggressively is the right term, but they were usually the bigger, stronger men who were more capable of, winning in close quarters. And so they were used toward those, strengths rather than the light infantry, which would be sort of moved around in, I wouldn't say, well, I guess some sort of skirmishing tactics. I don't know. I don't want to get into like super deep detail about like Napoleonic war style combat. But Grenadiers, bigger guys, a little bit better in melee combat. And then they only have one upgrade path. So they're going to go to Sergeants, which I'm actually going to change. I had a name in mind for these guys. I'm going to call them Stormtroopers for now, but there's a German version of that name that I wanted to give them, which is more of like a World War II. Well, I guess all of our weapons are sort of World War II weapons, so we're kind of pulling from all over the place here, but the Swadians were, making them fairly German-inspired. A little bit of Prussian in there, which is sort of German. So Stormtrooper, and I'll find out the actual name I wanted for that. It's basically Stormtrooper in German. So that's fine there. They should be like 120 and everything. Although, I may decide to make the Grenadiers a little bit better than them in melee combat. But my thought is these guys, instead of having bolt-action rifles, will have like a submachine gun or something. And let's see, these guys are at 2, so these guys should be at 3. I'll leave them at Power Strike 2, Athletics 3. They don't need, again, nobody's going to carry a shield, so I don't really care about that. They don't need any of these, so there's no point in having them. And yeah, so there's our infantry. So we go from recruits to irregulars to riflemen to grenadiers to stormtroopers, and then from the riflemen we're going to split off to men-at-arms, which are going to become, I guess, dragoons. Again, singular and plural. Which is not really period appropriate for like semi-World War II. I guess we're going for like a diesel punk type setting. Is probably the best way I've heard it described so far. But that means that we can kind of take some creative liberties here. And so we'll make these guys dragoons. They're going to be on horseback with, carbine rifles. I can't think of a better name for that than dragoon. So the issue now is, what do we replace the knight with? I guess we could make them like officers, but I'm not sure how to make them look. I did design an officer coat that you guys will get to see toward the end of this episode, but I want them to be better than the dragoons. and making them officers with like pistols rather than rifles and the same level of armor is not really going to cut it. So maybe I could throw like I guess I could mod like a plate cuirass type thing over the coat to make them more heavily armored and give them like a pistol and a sword. I suppose that could work. But then we need to figure out what to call them, and officer is a bit boring. So we're not going to call them knights. Feel free to throw out a name for what we should call these guys, like officer, something along those lines, but maybe not officers. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. And then, let's see. So from recruits, we go to irregulars. From irregulars, we go to riflemen. Or skirmishers, which are going to become... should we call them light infantry? Or we could make... Because I do have a sniper rifle for them, and the sharpshooter is going to be the like true sniper. But I'd like these guys to be sort of similar in that regard. So maybe I should give the riflemen and grenadiers better combat, like melee combat skills, and then give these guys better accuracy, just to, you know, give some diversity there. Yeah, I just don't know what to call them, though. Let's see. We'll call you Swadian Sniper, because that's what they're going to be. These guys will be Swadian Marksman. And then the skirmishers are going to be light infantry. And how I'm going to differentiate them from the riflemen, I don't know, but we'll figure that out later. And technically that's already plural, I think, so that's fine. Alright, so all we've really done is rename stuff here. Of course, we could have changed upgrade paths and whatnot. I could have eliminated some units here or, you know, done whatever. That said, if you're going to get rid of units, don't just outright delete them. Just change them into something else or use them for a different faction later. But if you delete something again, you're going to shift this whole thing and screw up everything after it. So just, yeah, don't delete stuff. Use it for other things. Right, so let's get into actually equipping these guys. So this is where things can get really annoying depending on what mod you're working with, because not every modder is going to name stuff intelligently. The way I do things, again, if you've been following the series, you're probably familiar with it by now, is whatever the mesh is called, that's what I put after the ITM prefix here. So if I can find it in OpenBRF, I can find it in here. But not every modder does that. Sometimes they like to get creative, and so there's really no way for you to find it in here unless you get lucky guessing. So that's something that we will run into. Not right now, though, because I have created everything that we're going to be using. So we're going to get rid of all of this. And for the recruit, I actually don't know what I'm going to equip him with, so I'll just leave him naked for now. For the irregulars, I've got stuff ready, though. So let's get rid of all that. We're going to keep the ammunition, because obviously they need bullets. And let's see, we'll start with... Actually, I wonder if I can just do Swadian and it'll come up. Perfect. Alright, so we're going to start with the Swadian cap, which is actually new. You guys haven't seen this yet. I found one I liked better than the one we did initially. And then I tweaked it and stuff. I've added hair to it, but the hair is blonde, and I want to make it brown. So that's something I still need to work on. And then we're going to give them all 4 of the great coats here. The way this works is if you give them, say, 4 different body armor things, they should spawn roughly 25% for each one. So if I do this, A, B, C, D, and then I throw down 20 Swadian irregulars on the field, they should be, you know, 5 with great coat A, 5 with great coat B, 5 with great coat C, 5 with great coat D. And then, of course, if you didn't see us add these, basically they're the same coat, just with different chest riggings on them. But we want a little bit of diversity, so we're mixing it up. Now then, we're going to give them some... Oh, right, the boots are called something else. I think they're called like foot guard boots or something. Ah, crap. The one thing I didn't change the name of. I don't remember what they're called. We can always go check in the item editor. But yeah, see, this is where things get annoying. Got the cavalry boots right there. Interesting that they're so high up, though. That's odd. Right, well, when you run into this, make sure you update. Let's save. I'm going to create a backup. And then just jump over to the item editor, and you can take a look. Now we added them. Oh, right, because we didn't put them at the end. We put them in the middle somewhere. So, Swati and trousers, that's what they're called. And I forgot to change the item name, that's why. So, whoops, didn't mean to hit shift there. Go ahead and change that. And we'll save this. And we'll go back over to troops. Go back down to our irregulars. And now when we do Swati again, everything should come up. There they are. So we've got hat. They've got coat. They've got pants. Now we need a weapon. So what the hell did I call these? I think they're called K98 still. Yes, they are. So we're going to give them just the regular rifle variant. Don't give them the melee one. They won't be able to... Actually, I don't know if it works backwards. I've never tried. I just assumed that that was a dumb idea. But I guess you could try it because they can switch from the regular rifle to the melee, so they might be able to do it in reverse. They definitely can switch back, so, I mean, maybe. I've also added in a bayonet version and a sniper version off camera. So let's see, they've got a rifle, they've got ammunition, they've got a hat, they've got coat, and they've got pants. Let's give them maybe some gloves. Leather gloves is fine. And I like to keep things organized, so I'll do like weapons and ammo first, and then head gear and gloves, body gear, pants or something. Like top to bottom essentially. Okay, so we'll update that. And then for the riflemen, we're going to do the same thing. However, we're going to give them a proper helmet rather than a hat. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll do the regular helmet. I haven't added in the reinforced helmet yet. It's still just a generic one with bolts on it. And they get trousers as well. And then let's find them some ammunition. Actually, I think it's under bullet, isn't it? Yes. Single bullet. And I might play with that too. I don't love the current mesh. But I'll show you guys if I change it. And then K98 again. Not going to give them the bayonet version. I think I'm going to reserve that for the grenadiers. That'll make them even more proficient in melee combat. Speaking of which, I'm going to give these guys Power Strike 2. And we'll give them, let's say, an extra 20 in polearm skill. And we'll do that for the irregulars as well. So these guys are going to be 95 now. And we'll give them Power Strike 1. And the recruits, I'll do 75 or something. Not 750. Okay. Grenadiers. It's going to make you 125. Let's get rid of all of this. They're going to get the bayoneted version. They're going to get some ammo. And then they would probably get the reinforced helmet, but for now, I think I'm just going to give them the regular one. They'll get the various greatcoats and some pants. And that should be fine. All right, gloves. Whoops. Probably help if I could spell. Go ahead and add those in. Update that. Okay, Stormtrooper. We're going to use the gas mask on this guy. I don't have a weapon for them, though, so I might just give them... I don't know. I might just not give them anything for right now. So let's see, helmet with gas mask, and then we'll give them all of the various great coats and some pants. Okay, then we get to our light infantry. I'm gonna skip those guys for now, and I'll just go to the sniper. And let's see, great coats again. Again, some of these coats are not going to be that well suited to different classes. So like for example, I think great coat D is like a machine gunner. So like the sniper probably wouldn't have that one. I'd get rid of it. In fact, let's just do that now. I'll give them a regular helmet, and I need to give them gloves. And obviously a gun, that would be helpful. They'll get the sniper version because it was made specifically for them. And then let's do, I guess I'll do a dragoon, and we'll do the knight too. I don't have a pistol for the knight, but I do have clothes for them, so I'd like to at least show you guys that stuff. Okay, so I've got them pretty much all set up here. No weapon for the knight, or whatever we're going to call them, but I did get them set up in the officer gear. The dragoon is, all set up with the basic stuff. The horses work the same way as like all the other stuff I was talking about. So if you want them to have a variety of horses, just add in like every horse type that you want, and it will basically assign them one randomly when they spawn. So I think we're ready to jump in game and take a look at this stuff. You can customize other stuff as well. The messengers, for example, as well as the deserters. So if you ever see a party of swatting deserters running around trying to attack you when you're, like level 1, that's these guys. So you can actually set what the deserter swatians look like. You can make them fairly weak or like really overpowered. You can make them a bunch of irregulars, or you can make them a bunch of snipers, whatever you want to do. Then prison guards and castle guards, those are what are going to show up for the guys hanging out in the castles for that faction. When you are part of that faction, I believe they work for you as well, but there's also prison guards and castle guards for the player faction that I don't recall when they take effect. They may start as soon as you get a fief, whether you're part of another faction or your own. They definitely work when you have your own faction. I can't remember if it uses the faction you're part of or your player faction all the time. But yeah, there is another one that you can change that is specially for you. It's down here somewhere. I'll have to go through all those. Anyways, let's save this. And we're going to check them out in game. And the only thing I haven't covered yet is face codes. So I'm actually going to cover that when we get in game, because we'll need to be in game to kind of show you how to do it. But if you aren't sure, you can actually click this and it tells you how to do it. But I'll show you. Okay, so before we jump in game, there's one thing we're going to need to do if we want to edit faces, and that's go to configure. And with my luck, this will take forever. Advanced, and then you need to enable edit mode. You don't want to be playing in edit mode all the time because it does slow down the game. It opens up a few things that wouldn't otherwise need to be available to you if you're just playing around. But this lets you edit the face of just about anybody. And it also lets you get face codes, which you need for this. So that's what we'll be using. So make sure you check that box. And then when you're done doing this, make sure you restart the game and uncheck it. I've played around in this mode. Sometimes I use this to make custom characters or something, and I forget. I don't have any problems with it. My game still runs fine. But depending on your computer, it could cause problems. So in we go. Okay, so we're in game, and I am currently in windowed mode to make this a little bit easier. If you don't know how to get to windowed mode, all you have to do is hold Alt and press Enter, and that will take you out of full screen and put you into windowed. And if you want to go back, just hit the same thing, and it'll put you back into full screen. So I've grabbed a few Swatian recruits here. Let's take a quick look at these guys. So here's our naked recruit. If we hit Control X, we can level a few of them up. Let's get like all of them ready to go. And so let's bump them all up to irregulars. And there we go. For some reason the hat didn't show up on him. I probably forgot to check a box because he's just got his regular dumb haircut there. But you can see that the rifle spawned, the coat spawned, and the boots. No gloves. Did we miss something here? Let's see. Irregular. No, he should have gloves and he should have a hat. So I'll have to figure out why he didn't spawn with that. He does have both here. You know what it is? It's because we are jumping into a save game. This stuff here is save compatible. This stuff is not. So if I wanted to have these changes take effect, I would need to start a new save, which I won't do now, but you know, shouldn't be a problem if you're working on a mod. So let's get a few more upgraded here. I'll get like 10 of them ready to go, or 11, I guess. And give me a couple of rifles and a couple of infantry. Light infantry, that is. And that should be enough. We'll make the rest rifles. Okay, so here's our rifleman. Got the helmet. Again, no gloves because of, you know, we're in a save game. But the helmet worked. And then if we level a few of you guys up, we can get some dragoons. So there they are on horseback. So I made a shorter version of our like greatcoat here for the cavalry. It's actually a little bit darker blue. I need to fix it, but it's got the same red trim, and then they've got the same gray pants on. I may decide to change that though because the officers have a slightly different look. I need to make those boots darker too. We're getting the same bug that we got with the other boots. But you can see they've got the new cap. That's got red trim on it too, which is hard to see this small. And then they've got a slightly shorter coat than the riflemen do. It's the same thing though, navy blue, brass buttons, red trim. But theirs has like a red sash across it. And then I'll probably give them some lighter equipment, maybe like a pistol holster or something. I'm also debating on making them like a special hat. They do have the gloves on, and then these boots are supposed to be like knee-high riding boots. They should be black leather, but for whatever reason the shaders are making them look a bit weird. But I may give those boots to the dragoons as well. That coat is also clipping a little bit, so I'll have to look into that. Alright, let's take a look at our sniper here. So the names worked, that's good. And there's our sniper. We can't see the scope, obviously, because it's on his back. And if we talk to these guys, it should randomize the gear a bit. Yeah, you can see he swapped into the next torso armor there. And then the Grenadier is the only one we haven't seen. And obviously he doesn't have any weapons or anything. Wait a second, why aren't you wearing a gas mask? Did I give them the wrong one too? Let's see, Stormtrooper. Gas mask, am I just being dumb? Yes, I am. Because we haven't seen the Stormtrooper yet. So yeah, here he is with the bayonet. I should have known better. And then if we upgrade them, we'll get the Stormtrooper with the gas mask. And then I'll give them submachine guns eventually. But there we go. So there's our troops. Now, if we wanted to change their faces or anybody's face, what we want to do is you know, go into edit mode as I told you before, and then we want to go into the character screen. You don't have to do it here, but this is the easiest place to do it, I find. And then click on your character right here, and that'll bring up the customization thing. You can do this at any point to change your own face, but in this case, we can use it to change other faces. So let's see, if I hit Control E, it'll bring this up here, and if you click it, it'll copy it to your clipboard so that you can paste it. So we have this code here, and if we change something, you can actually see, watch right here, we can actually see that number and letter change. So essentially, what you want to do is grab this code and then paste it in right here. Now, I'm not going to change this because I don't necessarily want that face to be used. But the reason there's two is because when you are creating generic troops like this, if you put in a second one, it will give you random faces anywhere between those two face codes. So what that means is if you are, say, doing this for a character, like a named character, you know, companion or whatever, you don't want their face randomized. You want it to be the same every time. So what you would do instead is, let's find one, is like one of these guys. You have a face code here. So, you know, create their face however you want it, and then get that code. go ahead and paste it here, and then this one should be 0, X, and then a bunch of zeros. It's easier to just copy and paste it from one, because I'm pretty sure if you don't enter this right, you might run into issues. So just make sure you copy it from somebody who has this code here. But yeah, if you're doing, it even says here, so use second phase to generate random faces between phase 1 and phase 2, only for recruitable troops, no heroes. So phase 2, only for recruitable troops, no heroes. Heroes, only phase 1. And it's that simple. Now, what you can also do in edit mode, which is kind of handy, is anybody that you can ask to see their skills, you can do this with. So I don't know if we'll be able to find a companion, but let's jump into the tavern here and maybe there'll be one around. Oh wow, there's quite a few. We are using the companions mod, so there's like a ton of them. I guess, I don't know if I can afford you. Blah, blah, blah. 6,000. Okay, good thing I cheated a bunch of money in. Alright, so he's joined our party. If we go to our party screen, talk to him, ask him about his skills, we can click this. And let's make him younger. That didn't change much, did it? We'll give him darker hair, and we'll change his beard slightly. And his hair, why not? Okay, so this is what he looks like now. When we hit done, it'll show up here. When you hit done again, he's going to revert back to his old appearance, but if you hit never mind and click here, you can see that he's got his new darker hair, and that'll stay. So this is actually how I do custom characters in mods that don't support it. So certain mods like a Clash of Kings will actually allow you to do this without having to be in edit mode. Others don't, and so this is how I get around that. But this will allow you to change any character's appearance as long as you can ask what their skills are, so that you can click it and enter this. There's some mods that will actually allow you to see, or ask to see, AI lords appearances, and so you can change their to see their skills, and you can change their appearances mid campaign, which is something that you can't do otherwise. So yeah, this is a pretty handy tool to have, not just for Morg's editor, but also for changing the appearance of people in game. So that's where we're going to leave it for today. I've got some more work to do off camera to tweak these guys. I'm thinking about doing like an MP40 or something for these stormtroopers here. I also spelled stormtrooper wrong, but that doesn't matter because I'm going to change it anyways. So don't forget to throw me a name for what these guys should be called, whether it be officer or whatever. And let me know what you guys would like to see next in our tutorial. So thank you so much for watching. I had a great time modding some Mount & Blade Warband with you, and I look forward to seeing you guys back here for the next video.